Hi, Susan here. Thank you for being here, if you are here. Thank you for watching later, if you're watching later. I wanted to just jump on and talk a little bit about mindfulness at work. But I have a little bit of what I think is a different perspective on what it means to try to bring mindfulness to the workplace. So what I want to just mention a few things, and I'm happy to hear your questions or comments or anything you might like to offer. I want to first answer the question, what is mindfulness doing in the workplace? And I want to comment on a few qualities of mindfulness that I think actually can be beneficial in the workplace. And then I want to also mention briefly why I personally think, and I hope I'm wrong, that mindfulness programs in the workplace will never work, just as insofar as I've seen them to date in any case. So what is mindfulness doing in the workplace? There are countless programs now, lots of studies, lots of articles saying that mindfulness will make you better at your job. It could make you more successful, it could make you more productive. There are all sorts of qualities that mindfulness could bring to your work situation. But I'm kind of a little more interested in what can your work situation bring to mindfulness? And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. And this is my theory. When Buddhism arrives on a new shore, it tends to mix with the existing culture. It influences the existing culture and is influenced by the existing culture. So that's very interesting that it has this kind of tofu-ish like quality that it can mix with, influence, and be influenced by whatever it meets. So I have often asked myself that question, well, what does it meet on our shores, the shores of the Western world? If it mixed with Shinto in Japan and Chan in China, and what is it going to mix with here in the Western world? What is the dominant culture? So my theory is that dominant culture is not Judeo-Christian values, although most of us were raised in Judeo-Christian traditions, but those aren't the values that govern our culture. The values that govern our culture are consumerist. Those are our primary values. So my hope, my wish, my longing, even my intention in my own business life is to allow the Dharma to influence my work life and to be influenced by my work life. So imagine what it would be like if dharmic values such as wisdom and compassion and power could influence the way we work, the way we do business with each other, the way we exchange value, and so on. I find this to be enormously hopeful. So my wish, when I think about what can mindfulness do in the workplace, is not it can make you more successful, it can make you more productive, it can make you less freaked out when people are angry at you. Okay, good, that's awesome, those things are great. But rather, I think it has the power to actually change our culture. I'm dropping a big one on you right there. But that's the point of view that I find the most exciting when I think about mindfulness in the workplace. And of course, we all want to be less stressed out. We have colleagues that we find difficult to work with. We aren't sure we're able to express ourselves. We don't even know if we're doing the right work. And mindfulness can really help with those things too. But not in the way that it is often presented, I don't think, like just go sit in this room and do this practice and then hope and pray that somehow it makes you feel happier at work. I think the ways that it can benefit us in the workplace are revealed in the meditation instruction itself. And if you have a meditation practice, you're going to recognize these steps, and if you haven't, you're still going to recognize them. So the basic instruction is place your attention on the breath, like seriously, and when the attention strays, which it will, no problem, just let your thoughts be as they are, not trying to stop thinking. But when you notice that you're absorbed in something else, let go and come back. So the three qualities that we're evoking simply through the technique itself, one could describe as precision, the precision of breath, breath, breath. The quality of openness, just allowing yourself to be as you are. You're not trying to change yourself. Basically, the practice is sitting there being yourself. And the third quality of recognizing where you are and letting go. The letting go itself is very interesting. So these three qualities I find in my own work manifest in the following ways. In today's business climate, for most of us who aren't working, in a corporate job in middle management, and we've been in that same job for 25 years, those days are long gone. In today's environment, one of the things that is valued most highly is the ability to iterate, to pivot, whatever the word du jour is, for seeing what's happening right away and then adjusting immediately, confidently, unhesitatingly. That could be described as synonymous with precision. You are paying attention so carefully, and also in such a relaxed way. You're not like freaking out with your precision, but you're paying, your meditation teaches you how to pay attention to your breath on the cushion, so that off the cushion you can pay attention to your life. And when you're paying attention in this way in the workplace, the possibility that you're going to come up with quick conclusions to navigate difficult junctures is higher. So that's one way that I think mindfulness can be useful at work. It helps you iterate. Another quality that I find also very inspiring and encouraging and hopeful in the current workplace is that hype and advertising, while they still play a big part in our world, and propaganda of all kinds, what most of us aim for in our work and the way we are going to achieve success is through creating genuine connection with the people that consume what we offer, and with the people with whom we work. I don't know if that was good English. But in my professional life, which has, some range, not massive range, but I've worked at companies, I've been self-employed, I've partnered with others. No matter how brilliant your idea is and how much resources you have or how well positioned you are, most business endeavors seem to fail, not because you lack one of those things, but because someone gets upset because someone took your pencils, or someone didn't smile at me, so I'm not going to their meeting. These little human crashes happen constantly in our life, of course, and in the workplace. But in our life, we can feel more permission to discuss those crashes. And in the workplace, the only bad word that you can ever really use is feelings. So, however, the ability to connect honestly, to attune to others who you work with and who may be wanting to consume what you are offering, is the key to success. So that second quality in practice of allowing yourself to be as you are creates a general environment of openness, which is very helpful with the ability to connect and communicate. Could talk about that for like a couple lifetimes, but I'm going to leave it there. And the final quality is related to the part of the instruction that says, let go. Let go. When you let go, there's a little gap, and there's a kind of space of freshness. And, it might feel one way to you and one way to me, and I don't know what it means exactly for you, and often for myself, I'm not sure. But I do know this, that gap, that space, is also where the ability to innovate comes from, and where the creative impulse is discovered. So innovation is the third of the three qualities that are valued in the current workplace, the first one being the ability to iterate, the second one being the ability to communicate. The ability to innovate means like seeing things that weren't there before. It wasn't there, now it is. You see it, you make it, you feel it, you put it together. And the ability to innovate always lies just beyond the boundary of our conventional mind. Because if we could see it with our conventional mind, we would have seen it already. So there's a kind of letting go and relaxing that gives rise to innovation, one could say it's more a result of receptivity than of efforting. And the last thing I want to say, and then if you have any questions or comments, I am delighted to hear them, is why I think that mindfulness programs at work won't work. And part of it is because this is my observation. And I've been to some big companies, some small companies, people that have every good intention and every resource available to bring mindfulness into the workplace because they heard, for whatever reason. Basically, science says it's good and it will make you more productive and more balanced and all of that, and lower your healthcare costs or whatever it is. But what I've seen every single time is that somebody brings mindfulness into a workplace and say 50 people show up to learn the practice. And then the second time the person comes back to teach mindfulness, 10 people show up. And then the third time, like 2 people show up and they're texting each other or something. But just the idea that mindfulness works when you just say, it's good for you, do it, is not sufficient to create a sustainable practice, especially in a workplace, which is often trying to employ mindfulness to speed up a situation, when the practice itself is teaching you to slow down. So it just makes sense. You can't use something to speed up that actually makes you slow down. So there's sort of strange crashes in bringing mindfulness into the workplace. But I will say that I don't even think that's the real reason why it's so hard to create a sustainable mindfulness program at work. It's because 2 additional qualities are missing. We have the primary quality, which is a willingness to connect with your own wakefulness. But we're missing any explanation of the path that could unfold once that expanded mindfulness and awareness begins to arise. And without some sense of the path, the principles, the teachings about what it means to do this practice, it can become very confusing. And you could also think, well, it's just kind of boring and hard, and so maybe it's not for me. And the truth is, it is boring and it is hard, but that's not all it is. And without some examination of the principles, it's easy to think, to not know what they are. And then the third thing that is really useful, the most important, I think, in creating a sustainable practice, whether at work or not, is other human beings. Practicing with others with a feeling of community. So maybe at work that's not always easy. I used to work somewhere, by the way, where everybody who who worked there got a massage once a week, 20-minute massage. There was like 3 massage rooms. There were really great masseuses. And those rooms were always empty. Everyone was always trying to palm off their massages because no one wanted to become vulnerable and relax in the workplace. And even though massages were offered, the subtext was, get back to work. So it was more like a sort of superficial gesture than an actual gesture of caring. When meditation takes place in an environment of caring, one for another, that's what gives the practice, that's what helps the practice to take root. Don't take my word for that or anything. This is just food for thought. So just to recap briefly, what is mindfulness doing in the workplace? It can help you to be better at your job, perhaps, to be a better leader or manager. But it also has the power to create real transformation in the way we relate with each other as beings. I'm not kidding. There are 3 qualities that it can help with. The 3 qualities are emphasized in our practice: precision, or the ability to innovate, iterate in this case; openness, the ground of communication, genuine communication; and letting go, which also provides a connection to the field of innovation and creativity. And finally, there are 3 qualities that seem to be helpful in creating a sustainable mindfulness program at work or anywhere. The first is a connection to your own wakefulness. The second is some connection to the path that unfolds for you. And the third is to practice in an environment of caring with others. Not that they're getting all up in your stuff and you're singing Kumbaya, but there's a kind of gentleness toward each other, as opposed to approaching a practice as self-aggression to become better or more awesome in whatever particular way you might want to be better or more awesome. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you. I see that there are some comments here, which is wonderful. I'm going to look at them. And if you have any questions or reflections, I'm happy to hang around for a couple minutes. So let's see. Diana, thank you. Very nice things to say. You felt this intuitively but didn't know how to express it. That's wonderful. And also, yes, they're trying to speed up the work. I had this offered at my job and it made me feel more stressed out to make the time to leave my desk and then also go back into the work feeling calmer, but having to get back into the stressed state so fast, it felt like a waste of time. That is very well said. And yeah, it does feel weird to do this softening and slowing down within a larger context of hardening and speeding up. So I appreciate that experience. I have had that experience too. So hi, Dennis. Dennis says, hi, Susan. How to apply mindfulness to deal with extremely toxic, negative, mean people in the workplace? What if the toxic person is your boss and you can't be open with them? I'm asking for a friend. Really? Okay. Yeah, this is the question. This is the question, because how do we work with someone who we don't like working with, but who is holding our paycheck in their hand? Well, that's very, very difficult. And, you know, mindfulness is not going to solve all of those problems. When it comes to toxic, negative, mean people, you know, that you have to work with, of course, and I've had these exact situations and a toxic boss and so on. The only thing that I could think to do that made it workable for me was, what can I learn here? What, you know, in a more psychological sense, am I seeing in this other person that that reflects a quality that I myself may also possess? And can I soften to that quality in myself? And does that have any impact on my ability to soften toward them? Not to be nice and subject yourself to their humiliations or whatever, but to develop some sense of rapport, just in your own mind, with this person as a person. Sometimes that feels quite dangerous, and it is. So, you know, whatever you can avoid, avoid. But when you have to engage, know that precision can help you, in that it can support you to place your attention on this person and your interaction, as opposed to your fears or thoughts about that person and this interaction. And openness can help you to communicate with them genuinely. It doesn't mean nicely, it just means truthfully. And letting go can help you feel what you feel, but not grip it overly so that it hurts you. That's not, you know, a great answer, but that's the best I got right now. So I hope that's useful. Deborah says, I find it hard to keep the mindfulness state I reach from morning meditation into the workplace. Any advice? Sort of. Yeah, nobody can take the mindfulness practice of breath awareness out onto the street, really, because it might, you know, be kind of dangerous. We want to pay attention to what's happening around us, not to our inner calm that we might have felt on the cushion. So one thing that's really helpful is to just watch your mindfulness state dissolve. Just watch it dissolve as you get up off the cushion or chair and go into your life. That in itself is instructive. And I'm not saying push it away or try to hold on to it, but just watch it dissolve. That's interesting. And watch for moments during the day where suddenly your mind spontaneously goes back into that state of ease, and just appreciate that. But work is not calm. Mindfulness is not calm. It simply means, I think, for our purpose, the ability to place your mind on the object of your choosing and then hold it there. And sometimes that feels good or benign, and sometimes it doesn't. But it will always be better than trying to hide from what's happening. Wish we could talk for a long time. I hope that's useful to you, Deborah. There's a question from Karen, and maybe one more, and then we'll close. Hi, Susan. Hi, Karen. One of my biggest challenges is accountability around mindfulness and values. If you say we value innovation, but then diminish innovation is a challenge. Any thoughts? So are you saying, I'm interpreting, and correct me if I'm wrong, that people say stuff, but then they act in a different way? Like, you say you're mindful and you have positive values of wisdom and compassion and whatever, but you don't act that way. Yeah, that is a challenge. That really is a challenge. And people say that, the workplace is riddled with fear because somebody's holding their paycheck in your hand. And of course, it's very frightening for most of us. Even when you're self-employed like me, it's still scary. So I don't have a solution for that when people talk one way and walk another way, except to see that and know that, and you notice how you want to fight it, notice the times when you want to just give up, and stay connected to your own mindfulness and your own values throughout that whole ride is the best thing that you can do. Like, when you have a mindfulness practice and you see, oh, this is great, you want everyone else around you to have it too, because you know how beneficial it is. But it doesn't work to say, you should do this. What really works to inspire others, I would think, in the realm of mindfulness and values, is to be mindful and hold your own values dear and manifest them as best you can. Your example will always be more useful than anything you say. The example of your presence. Wow, look at all you guys with your questions. Holy cow, this is awesome. Hi, Connie. Hi, Jenna. Okay, Heidi says, or see them as wounded and accept them unconditionally, as they are allowing their negativity but not taking it on. Well, that's interesting. And you could see them as wounded and accept them unconditionally, but you also don't really know if they're wounded. And sometimes, it's a lovely suggestion, and when one can do it, it's especially lovely. But sometimes accepting them unconditionally, at least for myself, means not accepting something about myself unconditionally. So it's a dance between gentleness toward yourself and gentleness toward others. Sometimes more of one is called for than the other, but it's a wonderful spectrum to explore in all cases. Melanie says, mindfulness at work has helped me stop stress eating at my desk. That's awesome. This is great. I'm better able to sit with stressful tasks without self-soothing with food. Been great for productivity and my health. Well, that's awesome, Melanie. Congratulations. That must feel wonderful. And I'm happy for you. And I'm happy for those around you, because they are also benefiting, no doubt, from your less stressed out state. Okay, wow, there's so many. I will respond to the rest in comments, but I will answer one more from Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Susan. Thank you for this. You're welcome. I'm sitting in the mornings this week, and I sit for 25 minutes, and I swear I am asleep for most of it. I have never heard of such a thing. I am surprised that I'm still upright at the end. I'm curious to know if you have any experience with this. No, I've never heard of that. Yes, I definitely have fallen asleep so many times during meditation, and it's not at all unusual. So a couple things to say. One is, when you meditate, you relax, and we're not trying to work on ourselves. We're just sort of resting with ourselves as we are. And when we relax in this way, often what we are trying to hold, at a distance, we're not trying to hold it at a distance anymore, so we see it or feel it. And sometimes that is an emotion like sorrow or rage. But quite often, the thing that we are holding at bay, or trying to hold at bay, is fatigue. And it's not at all unusual to get sleepy or fall asleep while you're meditating, and the reason is because you're really friggin' tired. So it might just be better to take a nap. Or you could experiment with times of day. Like maybe you should meditate in the afternoon or the evening. Maybe the morning is not the best. That might help. And then the last thing I can suggest is a little sort of meditation trick, I guess. When you feel really sleepy and you're like, oh, I can't take a nap, I really want to meditate, you could try experimenting with putting a little bit more attention on the in-breath and a little bit less attention on the out-breath. So there's a quality of, and then you want to get to the next in-breath, so you have to have an out-breath, and then, so there's a quality of gathering energy just through the way you employ your breath. And just do that for a few cycles or a few minutes until you feel like you can relax into a more even awareness of breath. But I hope that helps. I hope you get some rest. And thank you so much for joining here. So this is really fun. I really like Facebook Live. And for other questions and comments, I will respond in writing. So thank you so much. Please have a good day, everyone. Bye.